Universitas Indonesia alumni. We have Gideon Lapian, can you please stand up? Rizal Kapita, Takiuddin in red, Chandra Endoputro, Toha Mashur, our special advisor, Bapak Usaifuddin Nur, thank you very much, and myself, Itham Bakhtiar Setiari. To be honest, none of us has been educated in maritime studies, but we all share a keen interest in Kebudayaan Bahari. Therefore, when we look at the Spice Roads program of the Directorate General of Culture and other initiatives, including the traditional boat building revitalization project of the Directorate Generals of Vocational Education and Culture, we were thinking about the importance of developing maritime centers in Indonesia. To be sure, Indonesia does have maritime museums, but we were thinking of other kinds of maritime centers. When we discussed the matter further with Bapak Darmono of Jababeka and Bapak Purnomo, as well as with Bapak Yori Antar, Ibu Benares Ria Siahaan of Care Indonesia and others, it turned out that defining and describing the kind of maritime center we had in mind was rather tricky. Fortunately, I have been working with Professor Rashid in the preparations of the traditional boat building revitalization project. And Professor Rashid is acquainted with Mr. Agote, Mr. Xabier Agote, founder and director of the Albaola Itsas Kultur Faktoria, or Albaola Sea Culture Factory, if I got it right. A maritime center, just like we had in mind, but in the Basque country in Spain. Mr. Agote is a shipwright specializing in constructing traditional and historical boats. He is a graduate of the apprentice program at the Main Maritime Museum and led several international seamanship programs, including those that hosted Professor Rashid and his team from Institut Teknologis 10 November Surabaya. Mr. Agote has come to Indonesia this week for the Senta International Conference on Marine Technology in Surabaya, but generously made time to speak to us today. Now I think it's time to get inspired. Let's start the seminar. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Mr. Xabier Agote.
Thank you, Ilan. Well, thank you all for coming. It's very, very nice of you. I want to start by saying that I'm here today because I think it was 12 years ago I met Professor Rashid in Canada, because both we are members of Atlantic Challenge International, which is an organization that through heritage navigation or heritage sailing inspires young people through values. And because of that, we met, we became friends, and then I think it was 6 years ago that Professor Rashid, with another friend, he came to visit us. You stay for several days, and because of that, you thought that it was appropriate to invite me to the Senta Congress in Surabaya, but also it was appropriate to be here with you because Ilan and his team and Professor Rashid, they are thinking of creating something similar to what we have at home. Well, I'm here to present you my experience that it's been very successful, and I hope that it will inspire you, and if you think that it will be interesting in establishing a collaborative relationship, we are very, very open. And I'm very happy to be in Indonesia, first because it's a great maritime country. You see, I'm passionate of maritime history and maritime heritage. And a country like Indonesia is really special for that, it's obvious. But also because my maritime history, the history of my ancestors, it takes me to Indonesia as well. This is a 16th century drawing of the Victoria ship. The Victoria ship, as you know, is part of the Magellan expedition that meant to go to the Moluccas to establish a commercial establishment for the spices, because everybody wanted the spices back then. And Spain was rival with Portugal, and the Portuguese were already internated, as we know. They arrived, I think, about maybe 11 years earlier. So it was very important for the Spaniards to go to Tidore. And that's what it says. Below the ship, it says, "I'm on my way to the Moluccas." And the thing is that, as you know, the Magellan expedition was meant to arrive to the Moluccas and that's it, but it failed because Magellan was killed in the Philippines, so he never reached the Moluccas, and he was replaced by Juan Sebastian Elcano. You heard that I come from the Spanish region of the Basque country. So he was as well, Juan Sebastian Elcano. He was from my province, as well as the Victoria ship was built in the Basque country as well. Because you see, my region was highly specialized in shipbuilding. About 80% of the ships that in the 16th century came to the Pacific and went to America as well were built in the Basque country. It's like nowadays, Sulawesi, South Sulawesi for shipbuilding, right? It's like a center for a very important center for shipbuilding. Well, it was the same back then with the Basque country. So, you see, he successfully arrived to the Moluccas, but then Juan Sebastian Elcano, he realized that they were not enough to fight the Portuguese, because 3 out of 5 ships sank in their way to the Moluccas. Most of the men died, so it was not very wise to stay there. So he decided to go back home, but following the local advice, instead of going back home through the Pacific again, he was advised to go back home through the Indian Ocean. But that was forbidden, because, as you might know, the non-Christian world was divided by the Pope into, doesn't make sense in the 21st century, but it was like this back then. And so, that side, the Indian side, the Indian Ocean side was Portuguese, and the Pacific was Spanish. For the Pope, probably not for you. So suddenly, he realized that it was not a good thing to go back through the Pacific, because of the winds and the currents were not very appropriate as they could experience in the next 50 years. The Spaniards, they failed like many times trying to go back, but the locals, they advised Juan Sebastian Elcano to go back home through the Indian, but it was forbidden. But still, he tried. It was very risky, because he decided to go back home very far away from the coast. And after 9 months, only 21 survivors arrived, including 3 Indonesian guides, arrived to Spain. So this was the first circumnavigation of the world ever made. The decision started in Tidore. That's very important. Next. So, yeah, this is Tidore. I had the opportunity to visit Tidore 4 years ago. I was showing a picture of me with the Sultan of Tidore. He was very kind and showed me around, and I met the Prime Minister as well, and I was with people that grow these spices, and for me it was very special to be there and to see the clove trees and all these spices. Next. And this is the final arrival after 3 years of, the last stretch. Almost every day someone died of exhaustion, of sickness, of hunger. So it was like, you know, they were real men, you know, like very, very tough back then. And next one. And the thing is, you know, if I'm showing you this issue of National Geographic of 1985, in which you can see 16th century Basque whaling in America, this was very important for me, because when I was very young, I was passionate about maritime heritage. I loved wooden boats, and I witnessed how they were disappearing completely. That was a pity for me, because I really loved them. I realized that back then not many people was very interested in wooden boats. They suddenly were replaced very quickly by fiberglass boats. It was a tragedy for me. So I decided to become a boat builder. I couldn't learn it at home, so I learned about International Boat Building School in Maine, in the United States of America. And just before I was accepted in that school, this issue came to my hands. And it was very important because, you know, when you wonder how were the ships that took Magellan and Elcano to this part of the world, well, we didn't know. We knew how they looked like because of the paintings, but didn't know much about how they were built, how were the shape of the hull, how they sailed. We didn't know anything until this ended. This is a 16th century ship, a galleon of the 16th century, that was built in Pasaia, in my town, and it sank in Canada. It sank in Canada, in Labrador, in 1565. So this was very, very important, because this is the best 16th century, the best preserved ship all over the world. And it was very well preserved because of the cold water of Labrador. You see, it's always very close to freezing temperature, even in the summer. Because of that, the wreck was very well preserved, and the archaeologists, when they found it, they decided to take it apart, to dismantle the wreck piece by piece. It took them 8 years to do that, because they could only work in the summer, and the summer is very short over there. It's only barely 2 months, and the water is always very, very cold. So if you notice, the guy is connected with a hose, providing him with hot water from the surface, so he doesn't freeze. You're probably not very familiar with what it means to freeze to death, because we're always so warm. Lucky you, but over there it's very tough, very, very tough. Yeah, so they had to work like this, and they dismantle the ship piece by piece. We're talking about 3,000 timbers. You see, when they decided to take it apart, they didn't realize, they realized that the nails, iron nails, were gone, and they didn't notice that every timber was together with iron nails, but also wooden nails, and the wooden nails were intact, but they didn't see them because it was a little bit dark down below. And then when they started to remove the timbers, they couldn't. So it was a big problem. That's why they decided to use this hydraulic, we call this hydraulic, pumps, yeah. And they welded this piece of metal, thin metal, and put in between the timbers. And then with this thin saw, they would cut all the wooden nails. So it was a very slow process, very slow. And then, that's right, you see all the timbers were taken to the surface and then recorded by the archaeologists. We're talking about 3,000 drawings, detailed drawings of every timber. That was never done before. in the history of maritime archaeology. So after these drawings, they decided to make a series of models, many in different stages of construction, to understand what was the shape of the galleon, to finally make these drawings, the plans. They made many plans, and this was very important, very important, because we're talking of a time in which the ships, the galleons, were built without plans. They were not plans. The plans were in the minds of the boat builders. And I know it's the same in Indonesia, because when I was in Sulawesi, in Bira, I was visiting many shipyards, and they explained to me how they built the ships, and they didn't use any plans. It was like back then at home. So this is very important, because for the first time we know exactly how they were built, the 16th century ships in Europe, the ships that came to your country from Europe are like this. Next one. This is the midsection. It's very important because it shows us 3 decks, 1, 2, and 3, and this is an innovation. This is related to transoceanic sailing, you know, because suddenly it became very long to go from one place to the next one. So it was important to increase the volume for transportation of goods. And this was the main objective. It was to transport as many barrels as possible. This was critical. And they made lots of money, because these guys, they went to Canada to hunt whales. And you know what? I didn't tell you that the Basque were the pioneers of whale hunting in Europe. In the 16th century, the Basque were the only hunters in Europe. The only ones for many centuries. European whale hunting started, other nations started in the 17th century. And in that time, they used to hunt the whales with harpoons. Yeah, from small boats. The galleon was used only to transport the whale oil. Okay, to transport the men and the boats to Canada. And you know what? I came to this country 4 years ago because I had 2 goals. One, to go to Tidore to visit, you know, the so important island for Elcano. Because I didn't say, or maybe I did, I don't remember, Elcano is from my province. Okay? I said that, okay. And you know what? One day, I realized that in Lembata, La Malera, there are whalers that hunt in a very similar way than the Basque back then. And I found that very strange, because somebody told me that there was no other place in Indonesia. I thought that it was something that it was all over, spread all over Indonesia, and that suddenly whale hunting was only kept alive in La Malera, but that's not the case. It has always been like a mystery. Well, the thing is that I decided to go to La Malera because in a video I heard the people saying baleo, baleo, baleo.
Yes.
And you know what? We do exactly the same thing. Instead of baleo, we say balea, 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 balea when we see a whale, because balea means the whale. So I went there and I asked, what it means baleo for you? Does it mean the whale? They said, no, it means get ready for whale hunting. So whenever they spot a whale, they say, baleo, 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 get ready. But, you know, and then I went with them, it was not whale hunting season, it was dolphin season. So I went with them. and I saw how they did hunt the dolphins. It's exactly like my ancestors and Juan's ancestry, because Juan is from the Basque country. I don't know if you met him. I'm very pleased that he's here too. And you know what? I asked them, when did hunting started in La Malera? They told me, 500 years ago. And you know what? 500 years ago, and they told me, but something we know is that La Malera people are not from La Malera. They came from the Moluccas 500 years ago. And I said, oh, Juan Sebastian Elcano passed through this island 500 years ago. And some people I know deserted, left the ship. And we know that in the Victoria ship there were harpoons. We know that. So I'm just guessing that it's very likely that the people that came, the local people from the Moluccas that went with Elcano, and we know that crew members from Elcano and people from Moluccas left the ship in that area. So it's very likely that whale hunting from La Malera is related to the first circumnavigation of the world. I'm convinced about that. And I'm expressing it because when I went to La Malera, I saw many televisions from all over the world, many. And they told me that there's always journalists trying to find the origin of the mystery of whaling. So I think that's the origin. You see, maritime heritage, maritime history can get nowadays people together. That's what is happening to us with the Canadian government. You see, I'm very happy to announce you that the construction of the San Juan that I'm going to show you now has obtained the patronage of UNESCO. It's the first time that the reconstruction of an historical ship obtains the recognition of UNESCO. I'm very, very happy. And also, now that the ship is very finished, very close to finished, Prime Minister of Canada, Trudeau, and Spanish President recently made a common declaration highlighting the value of our project. So you see, this is a cultural diplomacy, maritime history, because the ships were meant to go from one place to the other, got people together 500 years ago, in different periods as well, and they can get people together like is happening right now among us. Next. So this is where I come from. This is Pasaia. These are the Pyrenees. It's a mountain range, very high, that divides Spain and France. Okay. So I'm from the Basque country. It's a region. Part of it is in France, and part of it is in Spain. Okay. Pasaia is very, very close, only a few kilometers away from San Sebastian, which is the capital. Okay. So next, this is Itsas Kultur Faktoria, the maritime culture factory, as it looked when you came, Daniel. But now it looks completely different because we are investing, we are refurbishing, and we are increasing and creating new spaces for visitors. So this is a maritime museum, shipyard museum, that aims to highlight our maritime heritage. Because when you read books about maritime history, and they mention the ships, they mention different type of boats, how they were, how they sail, what were their characteristics. Okay, so what we do is we rebuild the ships after scientific sources. because it's very important, you know. First, we have a chance to learn from our ancestors. That's very important. But then we attract visitors, and what they're looking for is something authentic. It has to be authentic. It has to be as it was. That's why we obtained the patronage of UNESCO, is because 30 years of research was done by the Canadian government. Plus, when they provided us with the plans, we agreed to be faithful to the original. That's why UNESCO got so interested. And this is the keel. It's not quite finished yet, but it's a very complex keel. You know, the keel usually is like a beam, very easy to make a square section. But here you see, like, you know, it's a T section here. This part is not carved yet, but here you see a Y, same thing in the back. You know, it's like the keel plus the first plank in one piece of tree, okay? Because this is the original. You see, it's the original keel, just removed from the bottom of the sea. You see, with this crane here, and this is a very special moment because they recovered the keel. So we realized that it was especially made in a certain way, and we decided to make the keel as the original. Next. So I'm going to show you now some quick pictures of the construction process, okay? With not many comments, because I want to show you some numbers at the end, because I thought that usually I don't do that because it's not what I have a financial director at home, so I usually I'm an expert about shipbuilding, but you know, I think it's important for you to know some numbers, because you will see that the project is getting very successful. So yeah, you see we are building the ship in the same way that it was built 500 years ago. Next. Okay, so now the ship is growing. You see all around these visitors coming every day. They get to see the ship very closely. Previously, there is an exhibit. There is an exhibit in which you can understand the history of Basque whalers, the galleons. You can learn about, you know, how they used to hunt whales, but also how they did all the archaeological research as well. And then after that, you know, they visit the shipyard, and the people really like that, because nowadays our society is not used to this type of work. Everything has to be done very fast, you know, very, very fast. And our visitors, they really enjoy seeing us work using quality wood, working slowly, thinking, doing things nicely with lots of pride, you know, and we tell them our past. These are some pictures of inside the galleon, because now these pictures are important, because the visitors are not allowed to get inside yet. They will, once the ship will be in the water, it will be a floating museum, okay? Okay, this is the first deck. We're getting ready for the second deck. That's right. It's right here. Because these ships were very, very tall. You know, they were very, very, very tall in the 16th century. The proportions were very unusual compared to 18th century ships. You know, they were much longer. So, next is the inside. Yeah, we make our own nails. We forge the nails. We make the paint. Back then was pine tar. I don't know if you're familiar with pine tar, but it's like the resin of the pine. You make a product to protect the wood. So we go to the forest and we make our own as well. So you see, it's very close to the ceiling. The ship is being planked from the top down. Next. Yeah. You see, now it's planked. Now it's all the way down to here. So I think in about a year we will be very, very close to launch the ship. Yeah, so you see it's very impressive. The thing is that I'm very happy to announce you that the first ships that arrived from Europe to your country 500 years ago were exactly like this one. That's amazing. So this is the work done by the archaeologists and the historians is the tool that we need to rebuild these replicas that help us understand maritime history. But you see, there's no way you can preserve maritime heritage, or I would say any heritage, if you don't care about the transmission of knowledge. That's very, very important. That's why we decided to create an international boat building school based in the model created 50 years ago of our friend Lansley. You know, he founded the school that accepted me as a student. So already 38 years ago. So yeah, so we have 18 students from many different places of the world. We would like to have people from Indonesia. That would be very nice. Maybe we can, after that, talk about possible collaborations, because I think it's many things that we can learn from each other. These are our students. So this is for us the most important thing. This image for me is more important than the previous images that I showed you, because each person here is a museum in itself. That's very important, because you see the ships, they sank, you know, heritage, material heritage can be destroyed in any war or whatever, but the knowledge, if it's inside of us, it will be with us forever if we keep transmitting it to new generations. So it's very important for us. The school is our best achievement, the school. Yeah, so here are the numbers. Okay, well, so I don't want to be bored with numbers, but a few ones. But you know, I already expressed my willingness to share, you know, all our knowledge with you guys, to help you with the success of your project, because I think it's very important to preserve the maritime heritage of Indonesia. You know what? Something I have witnessed along my career in many different countries is that unfortunately people start to react when most of it is lost. Yeah, and then people start to try to save that past, that maritime heritage. But sometimes it's too late. Sometimes so much is lost that to recover that you have to work really hard. Why not to react in an earlier stage? Because Indonesia, it's amazing. And this is my third time. Well, in my 2 previous trips, I had the opportunity to visit many shipyards. I know that there is a very beautiful and rich heritage spread all over the islands of Indonesia. I think it's worth preserving that knowledge, preserving those traditional boats, because the boats were the essence of Indonesia, as they were the essence for my history as well, for my country. And we are not an island, okay? So especially here. So I think it would be very inspiring for many countries around Indonesia if Indonesia decides to create and develop a fantastic maritime heritage project. We are ready to help you in any way that you require. Okay. So let's start. Yes. Okay. The building you saw now is different because we are investing in this moment. We are spending 2 million euros to improve it because of the success that we have since 2014 that we started. We opened the gates, the doors of our Xabier Museum. Exactly, yes, in 2014, no, 14, 2014, that's right. So, but we started to get the financing to refurbish an old abandoned shipyard 2 years earlier, with an investment of €1.5 million, €1.5 million. The shipyard was in a very bad state of preservation. It was very bad, but with not that much money, I mean, for the state of the building, we created a maritime heritage museum. Okay, we have an average annual budget of close to 1 million euros. Okay, for 25 professionals, salaries. Okay, and so you see the salaries are about 600,000, and the rest is materials and so on. Many materials we get through donations. Okay, we are friends with people that manage forest, and they give us wood, and so we manage to get lots of it by donation. But you see, the interesting is that we are a non-profit organization, but I said before, I explained to my friends before that we think as if we were a commercial company, a profit company. Well, we are not, but we like to think as they do, because we want our project to develop, we want our project to evolve and to become the best. That's our ambition. We might not reach that ambition, we might not fulfill that, but this is our desire, because we are passionate people. We want our project to be a very good one. So that's why we are always 100% invested in our project emotionally. So 66% of the income is self-financing through the visitors and through sponsoring of different companies. And then 1/3 is from the local government, provincial government, and also from Madrid. Next. You see, this shows the public money. So initially it was important to start, but then what we want is to grow, to keep growing without being a burden for the public money. Okay. Next one. Yeah. So we work hand by hand with the local economical development agency, and they do follow our economical evolution. So for every euro of public money, we return to our town benefits of 2.5 euros. Okay, and then the indirect return is what each visitor expends when they come that day, is an average of 25 euros. So you see, the economical impact is positive, very positive for the region. The number of visitors is growing every year, except for the pandemic period. Okay, but as you see, we started in 2014, 11,000. Next year was 38, 49, 53, 63. 19, a little bit less than the year before, but this is a reason. It's because this is the year that we organized our first maritime festival that attracted lots of people. I will show you a film at the end, okay? So you see the visitor amount is growing every year, and that's very, very important because I didn't explain to you that Pasaia is located in an economically depressed area of the Basque region, okay? So that's important. It was not there were not any tourists at all in Pasaia. It was industrial environment with decline industrial environment. So that's why this is very important. Next. Yeah, and the media impact. Okay, that's very, very important. The relevant agency has estimated that all of the articles and the TVs that show up, that come to follow our work, you know, it has a cost. I mean, if you have to pay, it will cost over 2 million euros. Okay, we are very happy because we are promoting not only our work, but we are promoting our region a lot. So lots of people come because they see us in TV, they see us in magazines. National Geographic has come several times, so that's very important. Next. And to finish my presentation, I want to share with you a very important project. Is the Maritime Festival of Pasaia. This is something we had in mind since very long time ago. Why is that? It's because it is over 25 years that Albaola is participating in many international maritime festivals in different parts of Europe. And you know, they are very successful. They attract many people. So we always dream of having our own, but it's very complex to organize a maritime festival, very, very complex. Because I realized that it's very important, if you want to organize a maritime festival, you need boats, you need participants, that's the base. And then the more boats you get, the more visitors you will attract. But you need boats. But boats will go to your festival if they know you, if you are already invested in maritime heritage, as we are. So we waited for over 18 years to organize our own. By the time we organized our festival, we knew many people like us, because we went almost every year to one or few maritime festivals. So it was a great success. It was a fantastic success. Next. And I'm going to show you the film that we made for our first edition. Okay?
Pasaia itsasori begira bizi izan da. Eta itsasaldien dantza etengabe horretan, gure kultura beste batzuekin senidetu da. Gure portua. Ordura arte pentsa ezinak ziren itsasontzirik onenak diseinatu eta eraikitzen ziren lekua. Jakintza eta lanbideen herentzia bat, gure herriak munduarekin partekatzen duena.
very soon is going to be much better than this one, because the second edition that was held last May was much better. It grew with, we had many more boats and ships from many different places. We had many crew members, many, and we had around 135,000 visitors in 4 days. That's a lot for us, maybe not for you, because there's so many people here in Indonesia, all over. You may not be impressed, but believe me, that amount is very, very important for us. So it was a great success. And something that I can advise you is that maritime heritage is prestige for a country. You will find the best maritime heritage projects, you will find them only in very well-developed countries. We are the pioneers in Spain. We started because no one was caring for maritime heritage, but I witnessed in France, they started like 20 years earlier. They are ahead of us, and they have been very, very successful. They have inspired many people around Europe as well. But in Scandinavia, you find very nice maritime heritage projects. You find them as well in England, in Holland as well, the Netherlands. But you don't find them in many other places. So that's the way to go. Maritime heritage gives value to your country. It gives cultural value to your tourism as well. It's not only sun and beach. Yeah, because Spain in Europe is like the first country for similar to Indonesia. People, German people go to Spain in the summer, also in the winter, looking for sun. But now we realize in Europe that most visitors, they're looking for the values of the country. They're looking for quality or something authentic. Because it gets a moment in which you can find a nice beach, maybe closer than Indonesia. You know what I mean? But if you provide your visitors with your soul, your deep soul, your history, that's a great value that you cannot find anyplace else. So, this is what I had to present you, and I think if you have any question, I will be delighted to answer to you.
Thank you, Xabier, for the beautiful and very inspiring presentation. We still have around 40 minutes for questions and answers. I would like to comment that I really like the film, the last film, how the festival, it shows actually how culture becomes the foundation. The foundation of, that's the end, that's the top of the mountain, so to say, that you have the festival. But I can see this kind of festival happening in Anambas, I can see it in Banda, I can see it in the Sawu Sea, so many different areas in Ternate and Tidore. But it's not instant. There's a process towards it. And that process involves education, schools, but not just any kind of school, not just, it takes passion, how to learn the trade, how to learn to love, to work with wood, quality wood, to know the wood, and then so many different things. How archaeology is the basic building block of knowledge that's then shared across generation, 500 years, stuff like that. So I think, here we can really see the kind of outcomes that we can actually achieve. It's not that we haven't started here in Indonesia through Pak Wardani and Pak Sari Hadi. We already started with by inviting high school, vocational high school students and also from the polytechnic students to relearn with the masters. But it's a start. I mean, it's a start. There's a long process to go through, but then we can see the ends. I mean, the outcomes, the ultimate outcomes. How these centers are self-financing. So, of course, there will be an investment in the upfront, and perhaps no one else, except the government, is interested to invest in these kinds of endeavors. But it's not the whole way through. Even in the first and the second year, we already lowered the public expenditure significantly. So I think it's very important. So I'd like to invite comments, questions, answers. May I ask Prof first, since you mentioned Prof Rashid many times during the presentation. Prof, maybe you have some comments, questions.
Terima kasih Pak Ida. Thank you for the very excellent presentation, Xabi. Bapak Ibu sekalian, saya kira kita sudah melihat bagaimana satu pusat bahari yang dikembangkan di Pasaia itu bisa menjadi model. Kami telah berusaha, we have been trying to set up a kind of maritime tradition center. We call it Maritime Tradition Center in somewhere in the Madura. We have been doing some collaboration with the French government. The provincial government has allocated some funding to establish a workshop, a wooden workshop, and the local government failed to provide the land. Jadi Kabupaten Sumeneb kesulitan mendapat alokasi tanah, karena itu harus diserahkan ke gubernur, baru gubernur bisa kasih duit untuk bangun dalam kapal. Jadi saya kira memang kita belum ketemu. We have to work more to have a sustainable collaboration with the region government and the provincial government. Kemudian juga ada intervensi dari Kementerian Kelautan dan Perikanan dan juga Kementerian Pendidikan dan Budaya. Tapi this setup is an informal apprenticeship approach to the skill development. Jadi tidak terlalu formal. Pengalaman kami, anak-anak yang disekolahkan di Sidoarjo, anak-anak pulau-pulau kecil, the young men from the small islands of Madura who are trained for a formal training in Sidoarjo, when they graduated, they don't want to go back to their
Recording in progress.
Jadi pada saat mereka lulus, mereka tidak mau kembali ke pulau. Jadi memang kelihatannya the transition has to be set up at the local. So the local youngster would learn and live the tradition. Jadi saya kira ini yang karena pendidikan di kota itu bertahun-tahun, mereka sudah dapat gelar, maunya kerja di pabrik, Pak. They don't want to go, when they graduate from the 3 years formal schooling, they don't want to go back to their original home, because they want to work at the factories.
Yeah, they do that. Yes, and some people they found jobs in very far away places. One of our former apprentice is leading a fantastic project in Costa Rica. They're building a huge sailing boat for trading, and he's the leader, boat builder over there in Costa Rica. Yeah, we are very proud of him.
Jadi umumnya memang mereka teman-teman di vokasi kan kita persiapkan untuk jadi pekerja pabrik. Walaupun itu penting, saya kira memang ini the setup is more kind of social entrepreneurs, community leaders gitu ya, yang kemudian menggerakkan tradisi maritim yang sebetulnya kita melihat di Paciran misalkan memang tradisi boatbuilding itu masih hidup, ya, tapi mendapatkan tekanan yang luar biasa karena the plastic boat, the fiber reinforced plastics, it's very, jadi itu yang mendapatkan tekanan yang luar biasa sehingga traditional boat building itu menjadi semakin tidak menarik ya, sehingga kita coba libatkan pondok-pondok pesantren. Pondok pesantren and Islamic boarding school provides a more organic and culturally based learning environment. Ya, jadi saya kira ini yang menurut saya kalau di kota-kota beda sekali dengan yang ada di tadi ya di pesantren, karena di situ memang pembuatan perahu terjadi di pesisir itu, kadang-kadang di dekat kuburan. Ya. Tapi tentu ini bisa kita tingkatkan menjadi lebih terukur lah kalau begitu ya, lebih terukur saya sebut begitu. Perlu pendekatan yang lebih tersistem begitu ya, karena memang kalau yang bersifat tradisional itu sifatnya memang sangat voluntary lah begitu ya, tidak terlalu. Tapi tentu saja kalau the graduate from the school, from your school, has managed to establish a project, a bigger project, that's fantastic.
Yeah, they are all working because now there is a demand of shipbuilders in different places of Europe. And before, I didn't understand very well what you were saying. Explain to me. But I think it's very important to offer a future away from the cities. It's very important.
A future away from the cities.
Away from the cities. Yeah, because especially here, there's so many people, it's so overcrowded. And then these coastal countries of yours are so fantastic, so beautiful. So I think that you add value by offering tradition, quality, authenticity to the visitors. I think it's important. And also, it connects you with nature and the forest. To build a wooden boat, you need good forest. You don't need bad forest. You need good quality ones that are well managed, that provide with good wood. And you know what? Now we have a big problem in Europe with all these plastic boats. We don't know how to destroy them. It's very environmentally costly. It's very expensive to destroy a plastic boat. And a wooden boat, it goes back to nature just by itself. You don't need anything else. You could even do firewood with an old boat. I mean, it's very easy to go back to nature with a wooden boat. So that's my advice. Follow your heritage, follow your past to get a very good future.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think this is very interesting presentation from Xabier. The issue of shipbuilding, actually two things. First one is the port itself, because you cannot build the ship without port, domestically or internationally, traditional or even the modern one. The second one is the culture of people surrounding the beach area, like Makassar in South Sulawesi or let's say in Aceh. I'm offering to them actually the area for them to develop such kind of this center in the Sunda State area. And we met them already that if we need land, let's say 10 hectares is easy. We can give them more than that. The issue is we have to rearrange the concept, because sometimes if you go to let's say, the special zone, special economic zone or industry, we need more than, such kind of this business. We have to reintegrate with the tourism ecosystem, because we will invite people, we will invite students. Then we have to provide also the hotel, the shelter for them. And actually, this is good for our business. Actually, if they come to our area and we provide, let's say, 50 hectares of the land, I said them 50-50, not 10, because they asked me 10. I said 50. And the area is not so far from Jakarta. So if Professor Rossi would like to have such kind of area, it's really, and then we can manage it by designing a concept. That is the first area. The second one, we have 100 proposals for special economic zone. Now, in the developing process is about 4. Maritime, Kendal in Kendal, yes, in Semarang in Tanjung Lesung, and one is in Sulawesi. I mean, if this concept can be managed in collaboration with the developer, the industrial joint owner, then you will have a good opportunity. But if you would like to develop such kind of business only based on the tradition, let's say in Makassar with an ecosystem supporting area, that will be difficult for them, because the port is also needed to support this business. As a port player, I understand this traditional shipbuilding, because we have also such kind of corporate social responsibility program in Semarang, in Benoa, Bali, in Lombok, Mandalika area. So actually, there are some people also interested of this issue. It's depend on our approach to them, and we already invite them also to our group. If you need land on the 10, it's easy, because our was offering 50 hectares, and the place is not so far from here. Only, let's say, might be in the next year, 3 hours through toll road. So, saya kira kita panasin aja sekalian.
Ahli-ahlinya ada.
Saya mau dicoba perkenalkan diri, Pak. Saya kebetulan dulu di pelabuhan divisi pelabuhan, saya di pelabuhan 3 sempat direktur utama dan 4 tahun direktur keuangan. Saya bantu banyak di Semarang untuk rute ke Karimun Jawa, Pak. Kemudian di Benoa juga untuk ke beberapa area, kemudian di Mandalika area kita ada Lombok. Nah, sebetulnya tidak kesulitan kok kalau mau kolaborasi dengan kawasan industri atau port yang ada, karena ada CSR bisnis sebetulnya. Atau apakah dengan perusahaan pelayaran, apakah dengan perusahaan pelabuhan, apakah dengan para pengembang bisnis kawasan. Kalau enggak, bapak-bapak akan susah menemukan mitra, karena butuh pelabuhan, butuh terminal untuk sandar ya, Pak. Mungkin bapak-bapak yang dari perhubungan aware bahwa kalau ada kapal ada tempat sandar. Kalau dia keluar dari kapal nggak ada tempat sandar juga nggak akan ada pengunjung. Jadi festival tahunan di Bali, di Benoa sudah ada. Kalau kawan-kawan ke Benoa, kawan-kawan akan menemukan kapal pinisi lokal di Benoa. Kalau kawan-kawan ke Labuan Bajo di multipurpose area, itu juga punya beberapa pinisi di Labuan Bajo. Memang belum difestivalkan, tapi traditionally it is festival. Memang perlu cari tempatnya, tapi saya kira jangan dicari tempat yang tidak ada aktivitinya. Harus cari tempat yang sudah ada bisnisnya. Sehingga ada trainer, ada businessman, ada tourism center, and then food, maybe beverage, so that your festival will be easily can be managed in this area. Iya, Pak. Indonesia terlalu bagus untuk dibiarkan. This country is too beautiful.
Well, because to organize a maritime festival, you need boats, and I think
Yes,
there are
absolutely.
many boats. And
Both terminal of port
that's right.
and also the ecosystem of tourism, like
That's right,
hotel,
yes.
food and beverage business, and so on.
Yeah, because you need people to be entertained. a little
Absolutely,
bit.
yes.
Yes, and here there are so many different types of boats.
Yes,
That's amazing. It's an extraordinary richness.
yes,
I think that they should be recorded. All of them.
yes.
You should have someone, keeping the knowledge and making plans of
Yes.
the boats.
If you go to Labuan Bajo, the vessel, traditional one also varies not only from Bajo or from Makassar, but also from local people. I mean, the heritage already reached. The issue is how to develop and to continue the building awareness of the people and collaborating with the business person. Thank you very much, Mana Profesor. Hanya menyemangati aja, Pak.
Thank you. Terima kasih. Just one another area that I mean, it was in the presentation. It's actually about seamanship, about seafaring. I know that at Itsas Kultur Faktoria there's also a seamanship school or program, but maybe we can ask from the Army Institute of Maritime Studies. How is it actually here now in Indonesia? I mean, how we have seamanship, we have maritime studies, but it seems that there is like a gap between the traditions and that the modern sector that's now operating our ships in the waters. But what's actually the problem? Well, I might say problem.
Thank you. So, I think the difference it is because the modern ship it's regulated under the IMO conference. Now we have the STCW. I think you know that STCW conference that regulated for the certification of the crew, seafarers crew. But in Indonesia, for the traditional ship, it is a local regulation. So I have one question, maybe a small question. Is that kind of traditional ship from your country? It is compulsory to register in the classification society, because in Indonesia, you mentioned already many places that we build without plan. So that is the difficulties that to our ship, the traditional ship, to be registered in classification society. But it is a must for the regulation, even international regulation or local regulation. Okay.
All right. Because the San Juan reconstruction is so important for the Canadian government that it has become very important for the Spanish government as well. And when we started with the construction of the replica, it didn't fit into the Spanish regulations. So they decided to make an exception with us. So because our ship is going to be as it was exactly. It won't have any engine. It will be just as a 16th century galleon, exactly. So that will allow us to understand and learn how they used to sail 500 years ago in these sort of ships. If we had an engine, any difficulty, we run the engine and that's it. So we are going to be on our own as if we were 16th century seafarers. Because this exception, this project has inspired the Spanish maritime authorities. And a year ago, they decided to create a different classification for historical ships and heritage value ships, following the criteria of some other European countries, like in the Netherlands and Norway and Denmark, where traditional ships are exceptionally treated with their own regulations. Okay, it's the only way to preserve our maritime heritage, and this is something that is starting to happen now in Spain, and mostly inspired by our project. So you see, heritage helps transform its society as well. So that's it.
Thank you. Saya tadi dari Anambas.
Ya. Asik. I'm sorry, Mr. Sabik, I don't speak English.
Silakan bahasa Indonesia.
Jadi pakai speak Indonesia Pak Ida mohon dijelaskan ya. kalau di Spanyol itu ada Pasaia ya. Jadi mungkin Pasaia makanan terlindung ya. Pasaia. Mungkin kalau di Indonesia bisa Pasaia itu kita pindahkan ke Anambas. Saya melihat begini Pak, di Anambas itu memang pulau-pulau dan 255 pulau, dan memang transportasi yang dipakai untuk sebagai alat transportasi bagi masyarakat ke pulau-pulau itu adalah memakai perahu yang kita sebut dengan pompong, yang memang pompong bahannya itu memang dari kayu. Dari kayu, itulah alat transportasi yang dipakai untuk dari satu pulau ke pulau-pulau. Dan ketiga pulau besar yang ada di Kabupaten Anambas itu memang sudah ada pabrik-pabrik kapal yang yang tersedia di tiga pulau itu, yang memang sudah secara turun-temurun itu dilakoni oleh masyarakat Anambas itu, karena tidak ada pilihan lain. Nah, yang menarik dari presentasi tadi adalah saya melihat bedanya kalau Pasaia ini dia bisa menjadikan keunikan daerah itu sebagai bentuk budaya yang kemudian dikawinkan dengan pariwisata. Artinya proses pembuatan kapal perahu itu bisa dipertontonkan ke masyarakat sebagai bentuk event pariwisata. Nah, ini yang menarik Pak. Nah, itu maka saya bilang kenapa tidak bisa Pasaia itu dipindahkan ke sana, karena ketiga pulau itu semuanya menarik dan mempunyai bahan-bahan yang mungkin bisa tersedia. Nah, kemudian juga dari sisi daerah yang mungkin akan menjadi berkunjung ke Anambas itu, yang katakanlah dari Singapura itu dekat. Itu kalau dari Singapura itu sekitar 8 jam itu sudah sampai. Kemudian dari Malaysia itu sekitar 7 jam sampai. Kemudian Vietnam 6 jam sampai. Dekat sekali.
Dengan kapal itu?
Ya, dengan kapal. Ya, dekat. Nah, cuma bedanya kapal-kapal yang dibikin oleh masyarakat Anambas itu adalah kapal yang pergunaannya hanya sekedar untuk transportasi, pengangkut orang, bukan untuk tempat pariwisata. Bukan artinya mengangkut untuk pariwisata, tapi transportasi untuk mengangkut barang orang dari pulau ke pulau, bukan untuk menggunakan pariwisata yang jauh yang pakai perahu-perahu tadi. Nah, saya melihat bagi kami Pemda, pemerintah daerah melihat peluang ini, ya apa yang bisa kita kerjasamakan. Apakah mungkin ya nanti beberapa anak-anak muda kita kerjasamakan, mereka di training di tempat Bapak, ya kan, agak berapa lama, kemudian atau mungkin dari pihak Bapak ada yang akan bersedia untuk mengajari pula untuk belajar bagaimana cara membawa perahu, karena memang beda memang pembuatan perahu untuk transportasi pengangkut barang dan manusia dengan perahu yang untuk pariwisata tadi. Nah, kalau sekiranya Anambas bisa dikerjasamakan, tentu saya pikir dengan nama Pasaia yang sudah mendunia ini, Anambas juga sudah mendunia, artinya bisa jadi menambah nilai jual. Anambas itu punya satu pulau diantaranya yang sudah sering kita sebut dengan pulau bawah. Itu pasarnya memang dari turis-turis yang paling banyak tuh Australia. Itu sekitar, kalau kapal yacht itu ada sekitar 70-80 per tahun yang datang. Kalau pas waktu dia rame cuaca bagus itu banyak sekali. Nah, mungkin kalau dengan informasi pulau bawah itu orang sudah mendengar, ditambah dengan Pasaia tadi, itu renting kedua ini bisa saling menguntungkan. Pasaia diuntungkan dengan kondisi sudah mendunia, tapi bisa ada di Indonesia, bisa dilihat ke Anambas. Anambas diuntungkan, Indonesia diuntungkan dengan salah satunya adalah pariwisata laut yang ada di Anambas. Tapi di sana juga ada Pasaia tempat binaannya, kira gitu. Nah, saya melihat dalam konteks Indonesia mungkin dari pihak kementerian mungkin bisa juga memberikan masukan-masukan kepada pemerintah daerah. Bagaimana ini untuk mensupport menjadikan Anambas ini bagian dari salah satu proyek nasional yang akan dijadikan, ya, karena memang bahan di sana itu seperti kayu itu melimpah ruah. Ya, jadi melimpah ruah dan pulaunya itu 99% itu 98% itu laut. Jadi memang cocok untuk digunakan sebagai proyek lautan. Cocok sekali, Pak. Nah, jadi kalau ada nanti anak-anak Indonesia yang akan diutus, ya, silakan mungkin kalau magang di sana lihat. Nah, sedikit lagi kami tambahkan bahwa kapal-kapal pencari ikan itu bukan hanya datang ratusan daripada Palembang, Jambi, nah, bukan ratusan. Itu kalau dihitung di tengah laut itu, Pak, ribuan dia kapal itu. Di daerah sekitar Laut Cina Selatan itu yang masuk dia bersembunyi ke daerah Pulau Anambas. Dan itu juga termasuk dari kapal-kapal telan dan kapal-kapal yang ada di sana. Jadi sangat banyak sekali. Nah, jadi dengan program seperti ini mungkin secara Indonesia bisa melihat Anambas itu bahagian daripada yang tidak terpisahkan untuk dikembangkan SDM-nya, Pak. Karena potensi ikan ini tidak akan habis-habis. Nah, kalau minyak habis, kan, jadi tidak akan habis. Mungkin ini bisa menjadi masukan saja. Mungkin terima kasih. Mohon maaf, Master. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi
wabarakatuh. Yeah. Actually, the tourism strategy of Pasaia is based 100% in the development of maritime heritage, putting in value the local maritime history. So it's a strategy that is working very well. We are known now, I would say that Pasaia is known in Spain because of its maritime heritage project.
Ya, jadi strategi yang dipergunakan di Pasaia itu betul-betul 100% didasari oleh warisan budaya maritimnya. Jadi memang mereka mengandalkan warisan budaya maritim. Dan strategi ini terbukti berhasil karena Pasaia sekarang ini sudah dikenal begitu luas dan mendapat dukungan bahkan oleh pemerintah Spanyolnya sendiri.
Then, as I said before, maybe he didn't understood, I offer our collaboration to our Indonesian friends to help you collaborate, to help you develop any maritime heritage project that you wish. We have a very long experience. I have dedicated all my life to that. To me, it's a mission. And what I like about maritime history is that it links all these different cultures. And I said before, my ancestors were here 500 years ago, and I am here again.
Jadi memang tadi sudah disampaikan tawaran untuk bekerja sama dengan siapa saja, dengan teman-teman di Indonesia gitu ya, untuk bergerak mulai dari warisan budaya maritim. Dan dia sendiri punya ikatan yang sangat kuat sebetulnya dengan Indonesia karena nenek moyang dialah yang sebetulnya 500 tahun yang lalu itu sampai di Tidore, Ternate dan seterusnya. Jadi memang ada ikatan dan ketertarikannya, penekanannya memang pada sejarah. Jadi may I add something a little bit? Jadi sebetulnya pemikirannya kita dibalik gitu. Jangan kita mikir di sini ada pariwisata, bagaimana caranya supaya si budaya ini cocok dengan pariwisata? Dibalik, Pak. Ini yang dibuktikan di Pasaia. Ini kebudayaannya, apa buktinya? Ada arkeologinya. Apa buktinya? Ada buku-bukunya. Apa buktinya? Ada dosen dan sebagainya gitu ya. Itu matang dulu. Lalu apa wujudnya? Mereka bikin proyek restorasi kapal yang memang bersejarah gitu. Si proyek ini pun sudah bisa menjadi barang pariwisata, bisa menjadi destinasi pariwisata, sudah menarik, sudah ada orang yang mau datang. Tadi di dalam presentasi di dalam presentasi Xabi menjelaskan gitu ya, bahwa orang tuh udah bosen lihat yang namanya pabrik kerja plastik apa segala macam. Mereka pengen lihat kenapa sih ini tukangnya natah tuh pelan-pelan, dilihat lagi, ditata lagi, dilihat lagi, benar-benar sepenuh perasaan. Itu yang ingin dilihat oleh wisatawan yang pergi ke Pasaia gitu ya. Setelah itu berkembang, dia dapat nama karena dia juga tadi dia jelaskan bagaimana dia dengan pengalaman itu berhubungan dengan festival-festival yang lain. Jadi nggak bisa ujuk-ujuk kita mau bikin festival terus orang mau datang gitu. Dia harus datang dulu, memperkenalkan, saya lagi bikin restorasi, saya lagi mau buat ini itu dan sebagainya. Berjejaring. Dengan jejaring itulah kemudian kita menarik wisatawan. Jadi kuncinya budaya. Artinya di dalam contoh yang ada di Pasaia, bukan berarti itu satu-satunya jalan, tetapi yang ditawarkan adalah kerjasama seperti itu. Tadi juga ditegaskan bahwa kekayaan Indonesia yang begini besar, nggak masuk akal kalau Indonesia itu nggak punya catatan dalam bentuk gambar-gambar teknis mengenai gambar-gambar tradisional ya. Untuk apa? Untuk bikin kapal. Untuk apa bikin kapal? Untuk nanti kemudian membuat festival. Festival bahari nggak ada kapalnya, sama aja bohong. Nggak ada orang mau datang. Gitu. Jadi itu logikanya gitu ya Pak ya. Sorry nih saya. Sorry. I just re-explain.
I also would like to add one thing.
Yes, sure.
Is that the next edition will be in 24, and we are going to invite the Canadian government to be guest of honor for the festival, because it will be the launching of our galleon that has been built because of their research. And in 2026, I would like to invite Indonesia, because you see, Juan Sebastian Elcano, after he circumnavigated the world, he decided to come back here, to go to the Moluccas again. He organized a second expedition and he died. Like most of the people, he died. So he couldn't make it. So I think that 500 years after that, 2026, it can be around him, can be a good way to link our common history again. And I would like to propose to start 1 year before, in 2025, developing a cultural program presenting Indonesian culture in Spain to promote this country in Europe. So think about that. This is not official yet, all right, because it's a little bit early, but I would like to send you this invitation and we can think about what we can do there. And that experience of yours in Pasaia, I think it can be a good way for you to start thinking about organizing maritime festivals in Indonesia. But it's very important that you know the experience, what it's like a maritime festival in Europe. I think it's nice for you.
Itu lagi isu ada tantangan, ada undangan buat Indonesia dan siapa Indonesia sebetulnya kita bisa bahas bersama-sama gitu ya. Untuk tahun 2026 menjadi tamu kehormatan dari Festival Pasaia ini. Bisa saja misalnya Anambas ingin menjadi tamu kehormatan, ayo kita kerjasama untuk supaya nanti kita bisa hadir di sana seperti pemerintah Kanada yang sekarang ini tahun 2024 akan menjadi tamu kehormatan gitu ya. Jadi namanya tuh ikut sebagai co-penyelenggara gitu atau penyelenggara bersama gitu. Nah kalau mau tahun 2025 kita mulai bekerja menuju ke penyelenggaraan yang tahun 2026. May I add, I mean, if we are going, I think we should go. Indonesia should be the guest of honor. Then we actually should bring our own ships. Then we should have a ship, an ocean-going traditional boat that can go from Indonesia to Pasaia, and show them that actually history can be put the other way around. Actually, Indonesians could 500 years ago go or come to Europe. Didn't happen. but it's possible. That would be one way of connecting at the same level as Xabier was telling us about. It's very important. It's not just for tourism, it's for any kind of development. It is to connect people to people. And I think that was what, one big part of the presentation was about, connecting people to people through history, through heritage, and so on. Are there still any other questions or comments? Ibu Tina, maybe? You would like to? Ibu Tina is from the Maritime Museum.
Oh, that I visited 4 years ago.
Oh, the other one. The other one.
Oh,
That's the private one. That was sorry.
The new one. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I heard that there's a new maritime museum. Yes. Unfortunately, I have to go back to Surabaya tomorrow morning, so I won't have time to visit the museum. Next time, definitely. I was not aware of the existence of your museum until today. He's explained that to me before.
I'll introduce myself. I'm sorry, my voice is... my name is Nia Budiate. My background is archaeology. Now I'm a director of Maritime, Indonesian Maritime Museum. This museum is a very small one, and just we have a soft opening in December 2018. And our museum is tell about the history of the maritime in Indonesia from the time before the steamboat ship until now. We are very simple and digitalized museum mostly, and we don't have a collection, but at least our museum is give information, the history of maritime in Indonesia from the beginning, I think, maybe the history of the kingdom in Indonesia from 5th century, that is from Sriwijaya. It's very interesting of your presentation, and actually I'm interested to participate. Yeah, but then our museum is owned by the national BUMN national company. So of course I will give a report to my. The company, hopefully that we can join and work together.
Yeah, you have to come and visit us. Organize a delegation and come to see us.
Thank you.
You have to talk with the Spanish, with the Indonesian ambassador in Spain. But you know him.
Thank you. So I wait for you to visit my museum.
Yeah, I will next time I come to Jakarta. Absolutely, I will be delighted.
Xabier, I think what I would like to say is actually there are a lot of shipbuilders in our country. Also, traditional ship community. Like let's say in Labuan Bajo, the new area of tourism center. There are a lot of villages. And there are a lot of community of people who doing business also villages. The issue is actually two things. First one is how to organize them to be more attractive rather than business as usual. Yeah. In the second area, like I said to you, in Benua Port also there are a lot of city. Modern one like Yo and Cruise also the finishing. The issue of organizing is one of the most important one in our country. Because most people, they do business traditionally as usual. And if you do festival like in Pasaia, in your heritage, maritime heritage, I think it is good because you recreate, the heritage into the new way in promoting your traditional ship and tourism. Yes, that's why I'm talking to the professor that if you want to develop such kind of business in Indonesia, we have to go to Labuan Bajo, to Benua Port, to let's say to Surabaya port, and then we recreate the process of business, including organizing the ship owner and business person to create new festival based on their own heritage. Not with new one, or build the building in the city with a connection with the port and ship business vessel. Ya, gitu Pak.
Sure.
Jadi jangan bikin yang baru yang nggak ada. Thank you.
Yes, you want to have some final?
I agree with what you said. It's very important to connect all the different sectors because they all come from the sea. So, yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, on that note, I'm afraid we have to end the seminar. Thank you very much. Let's join me and give a big hand to our speaker. Alhamdulillah, I think, this is the end of the seminar. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.